Okay, hello everyone. I am just setting up. No one else had taken this match for commentary that I could see, so I am just picking it up, but I am jumping in a bit late. So, where are we? This is League H something or other. Oh, I see J Nails. If you want to jump on here and talk, I can try to make the audio levels not terrible this time. Sure. Yeah, hop on in here. What,
Alrighty, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you talk for just a second?
Oh, no, I'm having trouble hearing.
Are you having trouble hearing?
But now I can hear you fine. Alright, cool.
For some reason... Where's the... Oh, there's that. Okay, hold on. Aux 2, aux 2. Okay, try talking one more time.
Testing. Can you hear me now?
Yep. I'm just trying to make sure the levels are... I'm trying to ballpark the audio levels this time since they're off by a bit before. Okay, cool. I'm gonna guess that's fine, or good enough at least. What's going on here? Is this game 1? They've been playing for 20 minutes. And it's turn 9. It feels like this could be game 2. But it's hard to say. So they're trying to pick up the thread of how this thing has gone so far. Potion. Oh, go
I
ahead.
think I'm noticing it looks like they need plus buy. So I'd be looking to get C.
Yes, Seaway seems very, very strong here. I don't. I think the open I take here it's definitely Magpie. And I'm not sure if it's Magpie Silver or Magpie Pixie.
I was thinking Magpie Experiment. But I also like Magpie Pixie over Magpie Silver.
Experiments are fine too. I'm not. I guess the thing with Experiment is I don't know that it does that. Well, no, I guess it does a little bit, right? So, all right, here's the thing with magpies is there's sort of on the one hand, you want them to draw, you know, treasures because that's what makes them draw extra cards. But on the other hand, you want them to not draw treasures because then they gain more pixies, right? So there's like a weird balance sometimes between magpies and of what you want and what you know, copper versus like not copper, for instance. In this case, I kind of want to hit 5. You're not in the super rush to hit 5, but you do want to eventually hit 5 so you can see Seaway Magpies. That's probably the plan. So I think if that's the case, then I can see Magpie Experiment, because that Magpie Experiment does increase your chances of Magpie hitting like an experiment or something like that, since you're putting like, an extra card in your deck. And it's probably better to gain extra Magpies in the first shuffle than draw coppers. Plus, you're still pretty likely to hit 5, so whatever.
I agree with all that. The other thing that was in the back of my mind is I'd like to be playing my goat a lot early on. And so I like Experiment just because it shuffles me through my deck a lot faster. I potentially see that goat more frequently.
Yeah, this is true. I think I'm always a little bit unsure, like, with a giant magpie stack in what looks like a fairly money-ish looking game, like, it's always a little unsure to me exactly how much I need to worry about trashing copper. It just seems like slightly less important than your average sort of game, but I think it's still probably important to trash copper.
I mean, at the very least, you get rid of those estates faster. I'm not sure. I don't think this game should have gone to provinces so quickly. I mean, you got plus buy, you've got good draw. You don't need a whole lot of. There's not a whole lot of terminal action cards, so it's not like you really need the cities all that badly. I thought they could have built a bit bigger here.
You can definitely build pretty big here. I think So looking at this board, like how you want to build and how you want to draw, I think you definitely want to Seaway Magpie because you want to open Magpie. You're going to have a bunch of Magpies in your deck, and so it's just a pretty convenient card to Seaway. I agree with you that cities don't seem like a thing I care about even a little bit. Just because, like, what are they doing? Like, you're drawing with better cards to draw with, and you're, like, don't need the terminal space. I think I do want Alchemist here. I don't know. I think maybe try to get, like, a potion before too long, but I do want to probably draw with Alchemist on this board.
I think I'd probably get Alchemist as well. Although the way they set this up, playing Alchemist with no plus buy just feels really awkward.
No, yeah, Alchemist with no plus buy is usually pretty bad. Because you're drawing your whole deck, and then like you're buying another Alchemist, right? Like you're not getting a lot of value out of all the extra draw if you're just buying another Alchemist or a single card every turn. You don't need that much draw for a single buy.
Yeah, I like that McWaffle has. I don't know that it was Seaway Experiment, but they did Seaway something. Experiment's an all right target, but it seems inferior to Magpie. In any case, they've at least got plus buy, which is an improvement.
3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so it looks like McWaffle does have 4 Magpies. So certainly, like, having an extra 4 buys is fine. Experiment as the only plus buy, like Seaway, is kind of interesting because you use a buy up to buy 1 Experiment, but you get 2 plus buy your next turn. So it's sort of like getting a plus buy, but you have to keep replacing it. Yeah, like you said. So it's a little iffy there.
I would have taken the Magpie, but the Experiment, it definitely works better than nothing.
Yes. Yeah.
The thing I like is McWaffle actually got forced into making the right play. The reason they took Seaway Experiment there was because that turn, they wanted to buy Province, but their opponent had hit them with Envious from the Vampire.
Yeah.
And so they were lamenting it in chat. They're complaining about how bad the boon was. Or how bad the hex was. As it turns out, it goaded them into buying the thing they really ought to have bought instead of Province, because they only had 5 instead of 8. So they're kind of forced to buy Seaway instead of Province.
Yeah. So in general, right, so just for new players, when you're looking at a board like this, or really any engine you're trying to do any sort of analysis for like what you're supposed to be doing, you're looking for various things. You're looking for basically trashing, or ways to thin down your deck. You're looking for plus buy. You're looking for card draw, things like this, right? And you want to figure out how your deck gets all of these. Because if you just play a bunch of cards and buy a single province, like sometimes it's the best you could do, but usually you can do a lot better than that. So on a board like this, well, there's only one way to get plus buy, and that's Seaway, right? And so you definitely want to Seaway something, and you want to Seaway it probably fairly early.
Yeah,
and then you want to figure out.
Oh,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, especially with like nice 2 costs and 3 costs around, like I'd be happy to buy Pixies and Experiments with surplus money. So it makes plus buy all the more valuable.
And I noticed they haven't bought any Pixies this game. I think it's actually very, very rare to not want to buy some Pixies. Pixies are just a generally very good card.
I get Pixies pretty often.
Yeah, Pixie's actually a pretty decent card to open on most boards, but they're also just really cheap, and so you can pick it up with spare buys a lot of times, and you can sort of hold on to them until sometimes you pop them early for a good boon, sometimes you hold them late, like you're looking for like a specific boon, so you keep playing them over and over until you find a specific boon. You do need to have some like knowledge of what the boon pile is. Of course, you can always just hit Kingdom, right? It'll bring up all the different boons. But once you get familiar with what all the different boons can do, you can kind of wait and fish for like the right boon at the right time.
Yeah, I don't think this Kingdom particularly screamed out to me like look for a particular boon, but there's definitely a lot where like you really want the plus action boon, or you really want the trashing, or you really want the plus buy.
Most often it's the plus buy. So a lot of times you're on like a board where plus buys are fairly limited. And in those sorts of boards, it can be very, very valuable to hold on to a couple Pixies. And wait till the plus buy boon comes, you pop that, and it just gives you a huge advantage. That's usually when plus buy is limited.
Yeah, that one and Earth's Gift, the one that's like a gainer, can be kind of similarly valuable in the same sorts of kingdoms.
Yeah. And then early, Pixies early can do a lot of things, like cycling through your deck faster, gaining stuff early, trashing cards early. There's often a lot of nice benefits you can get. All right. Anyway, on to this game. We have what are we looking at here? I'll bring the kingdom up. Just show the cards
Nope.
here.
I'm having a little trouble hearing you. You're cutting in and out from me.
I'm cutting in and
Everyone else
out.
able to hear him fine? I see people listening. I'm having trouble hearing. I'm not sure if that's on my end or your end.
It could. I mean, it looks like my end's coming through clear. Someone can like tell me if I'm not coming through clear to them. There's people in chat. No one's like messaging me.
Okay, so it sounds like it's my problem. Let me restart real fast.
Okay,
then.
great. Anyway, while you're restarting, I'm gonna take a look at this board. So there's things going on. A couple things to note is Bishop is a card that new players open with a lot, and it's a card you probably shouldn't open with very much. The reason being, it doesn't do a whole lot for you. Like a single coin is just like a copper, right? It's like buying a copper in terms of economy. And early on, the points don't really matter that much. You're not really looking to score a bunch of points off Bishop early. A lot of times you can look to put Bishop in your deck later and score a bunch of points, but trashing Estates Bishop isn't actually all that exciting. But more importantly, you let your opponent trash cards. And trashing cards for free is really nice, right? Like if I can trash cards, but you're paying the opportunity cost for me trashing cards, that's like a huge boon to myself. So the downside of Bishop letting your opponent trash a card is actually really, really big in the early game. And so very often it's wrong to just open Bishop for that particular reason. Now looking at this board, you can maybe make some Bishop stuff work, but I wouldn't even really be looking at it until very late game. Looking at a board like this, what I'm thinking about is Peddlers is often a pile. If there's any plus buy at all, you often want to kind of rush the Peddlers, although I don't see any plus buy here, so that's already kind of out.
Display he would really affect because the only action is delay, but there's no good way to get the delay.
Right, so there's no plus buy, so you can't like delay more than one card anyway, right? So you are kind of very limited in how many terminal actions you can play. So you gotta be thinking about what your terminal action is. I think Displace is generally a pretty solid thing to do. Plus, there is some synergy with Way of the Camel. So I'm looking at Displace Way of the Camel right here. So Camel lets you get golds. And Displace turns golds into provinces. So possibly I'm looking to get a bunch of golds on a board like this. And then displace them. Like that's maybe a thing I'm doing. I don't know. It's actually a pretty weak board, so it's kind of hard to say exactly.
There's not a lot going on here in the first place.
Yeah.
My thoughts are, I think I want Steward as my terminal early on because it seems like a good way to get trashed fast.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
I like picking up supplies and doing that. Which Artificer could gain supplies, which is argument for having at least an Artificer.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the game, I think I lean towards Displace. I could see an argument for Haggler maybe. I'm not sure if I play with Camel Train. You're not wrong to say that.
Well, there's no Camel Train. Way the Camel.
Sorry, wait the Camel. I mean, because I guess maybe there's situations where it comes up, but I feel like the terminal actions here are valuable enough that. I mean, I guess maybe it comes up in like a specific context where it works.
So what I'm thinking of is because I think this board, like gaining gold on this board is pretty solid, right? Like get gold on this board seems great. And there's, you can gain extra gold by doing camels. Now you can always get Camel Train off of like horses, for instance. If you don't want to play a horse one turn, and you didn't draw your other terminal action, like feel free to camel horse. The nice thing about horses
now I've got you
and
calling
ways,
it Camel Train too. Whoopsie.
Sorry, now you got me all confused. The nice thing with horses and ways is like if you play the horse as the way of the camel, like you don't return it to the supply. Like you just get your gold and the horse stays in your deck, which is kind of nice. I do agree with Artificer. I think Artificer is good here to like pick up some supplies because I think supplies is just a generally very good card on this board. On the one hand, it kind of behaves a little bit like a peddler It's also the Bane in case they try to get cute and like start doing young witch stuff, and so it's kind of nice to have a bunch of supplies in your deck for that purpose. So that's all fine.
Yeah, I think of supplies as being very similar to Peddler, and maybe it's not obvious to people who are newer like why that is. Peddler is basically +1 coin at no drawback because it's an action card, which means it costs an action to play it, and by virtue of any card being in your deck, it takes up a spot. You have to waste a draw getting it, and then gives you +1 card +1 action back. So it kind of breaks even on the card front and on the action front, and then it nets you 1 coin. So adding one Peddler to your deck is adding like 1 coin to your deck at no cost. Supplies is actually very similar because it's a treasure, so it doesn't cost you any action in the first place. So it's also breaking even on action. And while it doesn't directly say +1 card, it does give you a horse, which horse functions as netting +1 card. And so the net effect of playing supplies is also to break even on plus card and plus action, and then get +1 coin.
Yeah, it's just in a slightly different order.
Like, if I had to choose between them, Peddler's usually better, because you'd rather get the draw this turn than like get it next turn. But like over the long term, supplies and Peddler have a very similar effect in your deck.
Peddler can also be cheaper than supplies. On any board with like any like decent source of plus buy, Peddlers are usually free. So it's usually easier to amass Peddlers than supplies.
Kingdom being a rare exception to that.
Yeah, this is kind of boring Kingdom. I'm still kind of curious about like Bishop stuff here. If you can do like if you thin down early with say Stewards, can you like gain a bunch of golds and Bishop them?
My money's on the displace thing, I think. I mean, the argument for Bishop is usually it can just like avoid touching provinces and run longer, and then the other deck like grinds to a halt, and you're still scoring 4 per turn consistently, whereas they're scoring 6 inconsistently. But I think the displace deck just naturally gets rid of its provinces anyway, because you can just displace the province back into golds or more displaces or artificers or whatever. And so I don't think that deck is gonna have any trouble consistently provincing. But my money is on just displace empty provinces. I think that gets going faster than like Bishop and golds.
Yeah, I think you can get to the point on the board like this where you are getting 4 points per turn off of Bishop and golds. Although it kind of like I think you have to alternate between like no, maybe not. Maybe you can't actually consistently do that because you'll run out of golds and you don't have the terminal space. I don't know, and it's fine. I was just kind of thinking if there's like anything cute you can do with Bishop and all the golds and stuff going on, but it's not seeming particularly great to me.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Bishop. Like Bishop's not terrible, but I'm not a big fan of this kingdom. I definitely strongly dislike it in the opening.
Yeah, I was mentioning this before. Like Bishop is just not a. Bishop is a card new players open all the time, and it's a card you should almost never open. And I tried to explain why that was.
I imagine you already said a lot of this, but to my mind, I just ignore the trashing part for a sec. I think people think of like, oh, I should open with trashers, which is a good logic to have. Mm-hmm. But if it trashes for you and your opponent, the trashing part is kind of neutral, right? Because you're giving an equal benefit to yourself and your opponent. And so what you're really opening when you open Bishop is like +1 coin, score some VP, which is not what you want in the opening. You don't want coins or VP in the opening.
Right. It's like a copper that gets you a few points, which is again like it's not great.
Steward, however, trashes 2 cards for you and none for your opponent. So I thought Steward would have been a perfectly fine opening.
I do like the Steward open that board, yeah. All right, I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. Kangawu.
I think it's 1-1 now, right?
Is it 1-1? I don't know.
Well, actually.
Oh, okay. So I just completely missed the first game then. So I just got here for game 2.
So we're in the same boat then.
All right.
The games we've seen at 1-1.
I'm gonna update the score here. Question mark.
Ooh, this is interesting. What do you do here?
I imagine you want a junk dealer pretty soon.
That sounds right.
But not soon enough to want a banquet for it.
Kind of want to spend my buys on cursed villages, and then gain some monuments with ironworks, and play like cursed village ironwork monument. It could also be Lost City Ironworks Monument. Either of those looks plausible.
I think the Cursed Village plays a bit better in a deck like that. Although, so there's this is the type of, and so Cursed Village lets you do what we call draw to X, in this case X being the number of cards you draw to. So Cursed Village draws until you have 6 cards. So Cursed Village is a village, it gives you plus actions, which is great. And it draws you cards, which is also great. But it doesn't play very well with treasure heavy decks, because you can't get treasure out of your deck. But it does play very well with actions that generate money. So on this board, if you look at Monument, for instance, right, you play a Cursed Village, you draw some cards, you play a Monument, so you play, from your starting hand, you play Cursed Village, you draw 2 cards. You play a Monument, you play a Cursed Village, you draw 2 cards, right? You play a Monument, you play a Cursed Village, you draw 2 cards. And so as long as you have, 1 Monument per 1 Cursed Village on this board, you can, keep drawing cards and playing more and more Monuments. And it's great, because Monument generates you money, and it scores you points. So that's the idea of like a draw to X kind of deck, is you're playing terminals from your hand, or playing cards from your hand to reduce your hand size, and then you play a card which draws up to a certain number of cards. So it's very valuable to be able to play a bunch of cards from hand. And Cursed Village is nice because it gives you the actions to do that, and it gives you the card draw itself, all in one package. That said, right, like I said before, like you can't get treasures out of your hand generally. So Cursed Village does need actions to play with. The other way to get actions on this board is Lost City. And so, like as J Nails was saying, you could also try to draw with Lost City and have that be your village. You could probably do some of each, but they kind of conflict with each other, because Lost City makes your hand bigger, whereas Cursed Village wants your hand to be smaller. So there's a little conflict between the two of those.
We were talking, I think, in a previous game, in a previous match, about how strong Summon is. I actually think this is a really bad kingdom for Summon.
It really is.
Yeah, so the reason for that is you can gain as many 4 or fewer cards as you want, or 4 cost or less cards as you want, because Ironworks is around. And so you can always just gain tons of monuments, guides, whatever, using Ironworks. The problem is, that's the only gainer. There's no plus buy, there's nothing that can gain you cards 5 or more. So you're basically limited to gaining 1 5-cost plus card per turn, namely by buying it. And so, if I'm summoning something, I'm spending my precious singular buy to gain a 4-cost card that I could have gotten, in any number of via Ironworks. And so because 4-cost cards can be gained via Ironworks without spending a buy, but 5-cost cards, you have to buy it with your singular buy, I don't want to spend one of my buys on summon to gain a 4-cost card when I don't have to.
So commenting on the play so far, so McWaffle did Banquet for the Junk Dealer to open here. I don't know that it's really, like, Junk Dealer is really strong to get. I don't think it's worth 2 coppers, though.
Seems like they're getting the coppers for the purpose of Apothecary. I think if Monument weren't in this kingdom, I would like this idea. The, like, early Junk Dealer Apothecary thing seems kind of interesting. It could probably get to Province pretty fast. My concern is I think it just loses to a deck that skips provinces and plays lots of monuments.
Yeah, you can play a lot of monuments per turn on this board.
There's 2 stacks of villages here. And that you can start buying the other. You could get, you can get more than 6 monuments in play per turn. You're scoring more than a province, even if you don't buy province.
It's true, yeah. So on this board, I'm definitely looking to play a bunch of monuments. Which does mean you need to get relatively thin, relatively fast, which means don't take coppers.
I like what Kangawu did in the early game. Buying Junk Dealer on 5 makes sense. Taking Ironworks as your first 4 makes sense. Lost City, I think I would have taken Cursed Village over Lost City, but I don't hate the Lost City. And they're getting getting Monument. I don't know. Oh, Kangaru's going into Apothecaries. I don't like that as much. And they're getting provinces. Okay. Well, I was liking what Kangawu was doing until this. It seems like they've decided to pivot towards what McWaffle's doing, and I like that less, but they've copied it now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you need Apothecaries here, because you want to get rid of the coppers ASAP with a Junk Dealer.
I agree.
Actually, I was commenting on Lost City. I actually think that Lost City should have been another Junk Dealer. I think Kangawu needs to trash the coppers ASAP to play the monument stuff.
You're right. I thought it was 2-2 on the Junk Dealers, but it's actually...
Yeah, it's 3-1.
3-1.
It's weird because the person who is the deck that's less hurt by coppers is the one who's more aggressively trashing them.
It is true.
I think in a lot of these if I got a bunch of junk dealers towards the mid game, I would consider any turn where I failed to hit five just banqueting because, like I said, you can get as many fours as you want. You can trash the coppers later, but you're really capped on how many fives you can get by how many turns you have. And so I don't want to waste a buy that could have been a five cost card or something else.
That's reasonable, I think. Yeah. So here McWaffle should leave the. So here McWaffle should have ordered those two differently. He could have left the monument on top, and then Junk Dealer could have drawn Monument, and then Lost City could have been the first card of his next hand, right? Because he doesn't need it this turn. It doesn't do anything right this second. So he could have ensured that Lost City is on top of his deck for next turn, which gives him an extra card to draw next turn.
They're already punished for it. It's a
Yeah.
gross looking starting hand.
Right. So yeah. So McWaffle's hand could currently have a Lost City in it right now, which would be a lot better than not having a Lost City in it.
It's just a good general lesson. I mean, sometimes you can blame luck. Sometimes you just do get bad shuffle luck. But a lot of times, what looks like bad shuffle luck might have been self-imposed.
Yeah. Like so, if McWaffle doesn't draw here, it's at least partially due to the mistake in the last turn.
And they still hit five, which is... They played their monument and they hit five. That's most of what their deck can do anyway. Even if
That's
they only
true.
drew
I mean, you take a
half their
Duchy
deck.
here or Summon Monument.
I don't like that. I don't like that.
I think you take Duchy there, but Summon Monument is. No, I don't think it's. Well, maybe it's actually okay.
Opponent takes Duchy.
Well,
Maybe they did need to do that. Their deck actually was running really low on money last turn. So maybe
Yeah.
that's a good argument for summoning deck.
This is the argument.
Ooh.
This is the argument against summoning Monument, though, right? Because McWaffle can't actually take the province here.
Don't they have another monument in their deck?
Yeah, they have two.
But they're player one. They're player one.
They're player one, though. Yeah, yeah.
That
So
would...
McWaffle. So this is part of the game where you need to track what your opponent's deck can do. So when McWaffle summon that monument, now Kangawa can just like play monument, and province, right? And then there's nothing that McWaffle can do about that. If last turn McWaffle had just taken the duchy, right, he would currently be up a couple points. He'd be at 25 points right now, and then a province is enough to win the game.
I don't like trashing all of those coppers. At this point in the game, I think McWaffle should be trashing some of those junk dealers because the coppers can be drawn more easily with the apothecary.
Right. This is true. So he needs to. This is what we call playing for a dud. He needs Kangawa to not be able to do very much on his turn, and then McWaffle might have a chance to still win. But I do agree that he needs some economy. Like, he's out of copper, and he has 3 monuments. So he's still...
Maybe they can hit 8 here?
He can hit 8.
Definitely trash the junk dealer.
Junk Dealer has to trash Junk Dealer, and Junk Dealer has to trash Apothecary in order to hit 8, I think.
Oh, this doesn't do it. Hey.
All right, yeah. So he really wanted a few more copper in this deck because getting rid of all the. So this is what we call over trashing. Sometimes you need to keep track of how much money your deck can generate, and you need to make sure it can still hit 8 coins. Right? If you trash below 8 coins, that gets to be a problem. So trashing all those coppers makes it actually really hard to hit province now.
I think they might have been fine if on that previous turn, the one where I was describing, they just trashed the junk dealers, which leaves fewer junk dealers and more coppers left in their deck for the next turn.
Yeah. Plus, all these apothecaries just don't do anything now. There's no copper to draw with apothecary.
Exactly. I guess you can reorder it and put your Lost City on top if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, McWaffle has now cannibalized their deck to the point where I don't think they can hit 8, even
Well,
if they wanted to.
Kangawa's deck's not very good either. So
Where does this game go at this rate?
I don't know. They're both stalling really hard right now.
The problem is McWaffle's progressively destroying their deck and buying more duchies, but it's not making it better.
It's making like
Kangawu is I think at least slightly better for the long term because they've got some guides, they've got ironwork, so they can keep adding stuff of value. I mean, like McWaffle is now within range with. Oh no, they're not again. I was gonna say they're in range that if they bought Province, they could win.
No,
But the deck
Province
is
still
like
wins because Province
physically.
involves a monument play at least.
Oh, you're right.
The problem,
The deck is now like physically incapable of doing
the problem is McWaffle literally only has a maximum of like 5 coins in their deck, I think.
And they're seeing it all right now.
Yeah.
They have to trash something to get it because they have to kill like the apothecary now to hit 5.
Yeah. This is funny. I think they.
This is in now. I think at some point Kangawoo's deck will hit 8. Well, before McWaffle's does.
Well,
McWaffle's not trying to build their deck back.
Kangawu needs to get some economy going, like, because McWaffle literally can't province right now, right? So you don't take points. Like, you don't need the points. You need money. There we go. Okay, I like the silver.
Never seems to reorder with the apothecary effect.
It didn't really matter in that particular situation because I don't think you're playing Junk Dealer regardless.
Well, I would have considered playing Junk Dealer to trash the apothecary and then like summon an Ironworks.
Okay, I can see that actually. Yeah.
And the apothecary, they're not really doing a whole lot for you.
Apothecators are literally doing nothing for you. Yeah.
But Kangaroo's at least got an Ironworks in their deck, so they can keep adding stuff quicker than McWaffle can.
Mm-hmm. Kangawu also has several guides, which is pretty nice for kind of getting past those really gross hands.
You know what would be devastating here if they had time to get it? Would be a Haunted Woods attack.
Oh my god. I mean, you would just pass your turn, like, whenever Haunted Woods was played, because, like, you can't do anything about it.
Wait, McWaffle still has a bunch of their apothecaries, right? They have 2, 3 of them?
I think they have 2 left.
It could be banqueting for silvers instead of buying silver. Banqueting for anything, really. They talked about banqueting, and now they stopped doing it again.
Yeah, I think we might have impressed upon the power of trashing maybe a little bit too hard in our last commentary. And now McWaffle's overdoing it.
I mean, to be fair, the correct strategy here was to trash all the coppers apothecary in the first place. But once you got an apothecary in your deck, you might as well add the coppers.
Yeah.
This game is going to take so much longer than it ought to have.
This game's gonna... I mean, McWaffle hasn't lost this yet.
Yeah,
Like, I would just... I guess... I don't think a Duchy there, though. Like, I still don't think McWaffle's ever gonna hit 8 anytime soon, so, like, I'd probably, like, summon Monument or something there as Kangawu.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
I mean, if you're Kangawu, you like... That province, that last province is like what Kangawu like desperately needs to find.
Yeah.
Of course, now McWaffle's deck is in a good enough shape where he actually could theoretically get could get a province.
I think with like perfect draw, McWaffle now at least has 8 money in their deck.
All right, so this is not quite a province.
Yeah.
We'll see if Kangawu decides to Duchy again. Lost City.
I don't like the Lost City buy at all. That's like a good way to lose yourself the game.
Yeah, because that's like that's
they lost.
That's a win right there. That's a win in hand right there.
I think cost them the game. They could have bought. They should have bought Duchy there because they would have been 9 points ahead.
Yeah, that Lost City buy was actually really bad.
I mean, literally, you're never going to see that Lost City. All you did was pay $5 to draw your opponent a card, which is, yeah, that was quite the blunder, I think.
Yeah, they stalled pretty hard there. I think McWaffle cannibalized their deck up a bit too much there, but ended up clawing back because Kangawu gave a bunch of time to do so.
Ooh, it was right that they lost it at the end. They were ahead for almost all that game.
Yes, that definitely.
Oof, another kingdom with no plus action. Holy stuff.
Ugh.
Well, you have Necropolis, I guess. So I guess
Well,
you're not trashing your Necropolis this.
Yeah. Transmog. So Transmogrifies is generally like decent open on a lot of boards. It's a lot worse with shelters. Because the nice thing about Transmog is you have to turn your estates into 3-cost cards, like silver or other good 3-cost cards. But turning your shelters into an estate is just not very exciting. So, Transmog is a lot less interesting than normal here.
I agree with Kangawu sentiment.
Oh, cool. You get to Necropolis. You have to exile a gold right off the bat.
So the place I'm leaning is just playing like Old Witch Money. Maybe add a crypt in there at some point. I'm not sure if there's any value in trying to build any more than that. I think. I mean, the one thing that tilts me towards maybe not do the maximally simple thing is there's colony around, but I mean, like, what else do you do?
Well, yeah,
I don't want like a stack of advisors and merchants because there's no plus buy.
Yeah, and advisor. So here's the thing: this board has Old Witch. It's gonna hand out curses. Some curses will get like Old Witch will also trash some curses, but it's gonna be a very junky game because there's no trashing other than Transmog, which is only like doesn't really get rid of coppers and it just turns, it's like Transmog's not really trashing on this board. So there's no trashing. There's a cursing attack, Old Witch. So on a board like that, it's very often correct to just play like your cursing attack plus money cards. And the advisors here I think are particularly bad because in a junky deck, I get to just skip by all of your good stuff. Right? Like I get to skip by your gold, skip by your platinum, skip by your, good stuff. So generally you don't pick up advisors on really junky boards like this.
Yeah, I think it's a real bad kingdom for advisors.
Although they haven't picked up Old Witch yet, so Advisor gets significantly better here if nobody buys Old Witch, I would think.
A Kangawu hit 5 and bought a Cartographer.
Yeah. I dislike that. So, in a board with no trashing, cursing attacks are really, really good. Because you can't get... cursing attacks are good even with Kingdoms with trashing, oftentimes. But there's no trashing. Like, you just fill your opponent's deck with junk. And then they're just filled with junk, right? So it's very almost always when there's a cursing attack and no trashing, you're taking the cursing attack.
Yeah, I'm not loving these advisors. They're basically just going to draw their shelters every turn forever.
Well, drawing Necropolis at least has some value.
In the counterfactual world where they had any terminal action cards in the deck.
No. Even on this board, it's Way of the Camel. Look at all those golds. Look at that gold flood.
I like picking up the golds at least.
No, taking the golds there was absolutely correct. But yeah, like Necropolis is like a delayed gold gainer on this board, which is fine. I still want Old Witch though.
I agree. Now you got the golds in your deck. Next 5 definitely Old Witch. I think I'd play with like 3 Old Witches, and then other 5s could be Crypt.
Crypt seems pretty solid on this board. So Crypt is a night card, so you don't have to worry about using an action to play it. So if Old Witch draws Crypt, that's fine. Crypt does... I don't think you need 3 Old Witches with Crypt, maybe 2 Old Witches if you're taking Crypts, because you're going to have a lot of terminal collisions, I think. Maybe later you can get a 3rd Old Witch, but I think you want like 2 fairly quick and then kind of play it from there.
Well, I guess in their deck maybe 2, because they also have a ton of advisors and stuff. I think, my ideal deck just has Old Witches as the only action cards. And then I don't think you're going to collide terminals that much. Like, you're going to have like 20 cards in your deck by the time you add that 3rd Old Witch anyway.
That's probably true. So Kangawu can get like a bunch of golds here.
Hunting Grounds is not bad, but I definitely prefer the Old Witch.
I also... Yeah, I'm not... The Hunting Grounds is not really doing it for me. McWaffle gets pretty fortunate here to find both Necropolis and Hunting Grounds in the start of the hand. And I would buy probably Platinum here. Platinum's a really good card. Um,
I agree. Platinum is going to be how you hit Colony eventually, I think.
yeah. So I think
Ooh, I don't like turn 7 Colony already way too early.
it is a bit early. So we had a discussion last time. We're talking about how you really don't want to buy golds very much if you can help it. And the thing is, Platinum is like the exact opposite. Platinum is just like a card you often want to buy, and you're often very happy to buy and spike 9 coins and buy a Platinum. Just a,
I agree.
like getting 5 coins out of a single card is very valuable. McWaffle bought a province, which I don't like. Kangawu also bought a
I also
province, which I
like
don't
that.
like. It's way, way, way too early for provinces.
But why would you want a province here with colonies?
The only reason I can think of is they both got to trash a hovel, but it's not worth trashing, like taking a province to trash a hovel there. You'd rather just trash your hovel to colony.
Yeah. There's two big costs to buying province early. One is you're adding an extra jump card to your deck. The fact that they trashed the hovel means that that was at least kind of mitigated. But the other is that you had a really big, nice hand with 8 coins plus, and then instead of buying a good card for your deck, you passed up on that. So there's the opportunity cost of, say, being able to add an Old Witch or a Hunting Grounds or even some more golds or whatever. And that's the other cost of buying an early province is you now fail to have one more good card in your deck for the rest of the game.
Yeah. So like on junky boards like this, it's actually really difficult to figure out when you want to start greening, because it takes a lot of practice to kind of get, I think, the a feel for when greening is relevant. It's usually if you spike like an early 8 on a province board or early 11 plus on a colony board, it's usually not correct to take the green card. Usually you want to keep buying treasure at that point.
I agree. This is a kingdom where you'll green, I think, earlier than usual because you're playing simple money. But even then, turn 7, turn 8 is just too soon.
Yeah, and I like here's the thing: if it's a colony board, if it's a colony board that's money based like this board, right? This is mostly money. You're buying treasures, and then you're using it to buy colonies. Trying to play a colony money board without platinum is madness. Almost always. Like it's really really hard to spike colonies consistently without platinum in your deck. So you want at least a couple platinum for sure.
Yeah. Advice is also going to start to get pretty bad once you have more green in your deck.
Well, that's a lot of money for a single buy.
Yeah.
That happens sometimes in these sorts of boards where you just draw all your money, and it's pretty sad because, well, now you draw your money.
Plus 8 from bank.
I don't mind. I think the bank buy is pretty solid here. I would still
This is the
prefer.
kingdom where I want bank more than gold.
Yeah,
Calling around, I would
bank
take
is much better than gold. It's probably not as good as platinum, so I would value it between those two. The only reason for gold over platinum, the only reason for gold over bank would probably be if you have some golds exiled because of camel.
Yeah, which, to be fair, is not that unlikely in this kingdom.
No, I imagine like this necropolis is mostly being used to camel.
A lot of coppers for those advisors. I'd love to get them set aside with Crypt.
Yeah, this is a pretty good board for Crypt. I think Crypt is weak in general, but on boards like this, especially the way they're playing it, being able to set coppers aside is pretty nice. Or even just like higher treasure cards as well, so you can much more easily smooth out your economy and consistently spike colony.
Not very much a fan of the merchant. Doubt that's ever going to do a whole lot here.
He doesn't have any silver, does he? Like McWaffle has like 1 silver. Yeah, like the odds of you pairing your 1 silver and your 1 merchant are really really small. So merchant basically does nothing.
Well, Brigand could be good. I see one of them has that. They have a ton of gold they can hit.
I think Brigand is, given their decks, it's not quite so bad.
Wouldn't take it over a 5, but if you have 4, it's probably better than
Yeah,
another advisor.
maybe. So no one's bought platinum in this game, which is definitely wrong. Like I said before, money-based colony games, like platinum is one of the is probably the like best card that you can get on a board like that. Not the best. I mean, like Old Witch is probably the best card you could get on this board, but after Old Witch, it's Platinum. And both those piles are still full.
And we're almost in the end game.
Well, I mean, this game's basically over.
That. I mean, I guess they had to try. Lowering provinces to 1. McWaffle can now buy province.
I mean,
because the game ends when either province or colony.
Yeah, I think it's possible it was worth the risk. You have to consider whether or not that's worth the risk or not. It's not always clear.
They might have just been hoping that McWaffle dudded and they could sneak out a win.
So McWaffle takes that one?
They're very behind. Yeah, McWaffle.
Alright, I don't know who won the first game.
It's a mystery.
But I have it at 2-2 and then a question mark first game. Oh, 3-2. Okay, Kangawu won the first one then. Got it.
Just rolling ugly kingdoms. Really, really ugly kingdoms.
Ugh, what? This is terrible.
5-cost cards. It's like the worst 5s in the game, all in one kingdom.
That's really bad. This is just like nothing. What is it? There's nothing here. There's nothing on this board.
Yeah. Throne Room is not particularly worth it because you don't want a whole lot of actions. Likewise, Quarry isn't worth it because it helps you afford cards you don't really want.
Yeah, okay, so there's no plus buy. There's no way to draw cards. And the terminals you would want are all kind of weak.
No, don't buy Quarry. No, McWaffle, stop.
Yeah, the problem with Quarry on this board is, like, what are you buying? What do you need Quarry for? I think you just open Remake here, right? Maybe,
I think I would take, like, Remake, Wishing Well, and then at some point, I'd probably transition to playing, like, I pick up a Trader, and then I trader some stuff into silvers and start greening.
I think Merchant Ship is okay here.
I'd have to see the specific context in which one buys it.
Yeah, I think there are situations where you might want a Merchant Ship. I don't know that you're aiming for it exactly.
Yeah.
I would definitely open Remake here though. Like Remake Wishing Well. So like coppers and estates are generally bad, so trash them. Trader is not very good at trashing them, but if you thin down first with a Remake, then you have a trader. You can do things like trade your Remake, right? And then all of a sudden you got 4 silvers, and that's pretty good. Or you can trade silvers, and that gains you more silvers, right? So trader is kind of weak at turning getting rid of coppers and estates, but if you want to get a silver flood, you want to get a lot of silver in your deck. Thinning down first with a Remake and then transitioning to trader and silvers seems like the way you'd want to do it here.
Exactly. Remake's going to get rid of those coppers twice as fast. Then you add the trader, you can add silvers back in by getting rid of stuff of value.
Mm-hmm. And the reason that we said open Remake Wishing Well is because Wishing Well draws you some cards. So it's kind of nice to find your Remake sooner, trash sooner, thin down sooner, and get to the point where you're getting a trader and then silver flooding sooner. And so Wishing Well kind of accelerates your remaking in the early game.
Yeah. Because if you open, say, Remake Silver, that's not a bad opening.
That's fine.
But that does mean there's a 1 in 6 chance your Remake misses the first shuffle, because it could be one of the bottom 2 cards. Wishing Well makes that chance almost 0.
It makes it because you have to bottom deck both your cards. So
you could conceivably have Wishing Well in the first hand and wish incorrectly, and then Remake could be the very bottom card.
Or you could have both Wishing Well and Remake as your bottom 2 cards.
If you find Wishing Well turn 4, for example, you'll have 1 card left in your deck, so you'll know exactly what it is, and the Wishing Well is guaranteed to hit.
Yeah, that's the thing that happens a lot of times with Wishing Well opens, and Wishing Well is a pretty decent open in general. If you don't want another silver, Wishing Well is fine. But yeah, if you ever draw Wishing Well turn 4, then you can always get that wish guaranteed. You just gotta do a little bit of deck tracking.
It makes me sad that 3 quarries have been bought here. As McWaffle, I would kill that quarry for 4.
Oh, in a heartbeat.
Silvers.
In a heartbeat, yeah. No, that quarry's ready to go. The other nice thing about Wishing Well here is if you are dealing with Trader and you're going with silver floods, then Wishing Well wishing for silver is fairly likely to hit.
Kangawu bought a throne room. I don't like that. I don't think you want to have enough actions in this kingdom that your throne room is likely to line up with them.
Yeah, I don't think the throne room's gonna do a whole lot. Like, what are you hoping to throne? What do you like? All right, what actions does Kangawu even have? Like, I guess the merchant ship and one trader, and like that's all the actions. That's yeah. Throne room is generally a very very strong card in engines, but it's a pretty bad card in money. And this is definitely money.
I'm a big fan of throne room in general. I think it's one of the strongest cards in the base set.
Yes.
But not for this.
Yeah, like there's not the action density here to warrant it.
Yep. How often I'm considering Stampede. Stampede, you'll be able to buy it pretty frequently because you're not going to have a whole lot of cards in play on any given turn. And let's say you hit somewhere between like 5 and 7. Stampede kind of guarantees that you hit 8 the next turn, and it makes it real likely that you can get, say, a good trader play off. So I think I might Stampede pretty often here.
I think I agree with you. I think Stampede is this is a good kingdom for Stampede. There's definitely, yeah, because I'm trying to think if your money is coming from trader on a board like this.
KHC asking the hard hitting questions.
I mean, you know they'll learn. The remake's a good card, and it's a great card to open. Yes, it's H League. So Stampede here is pretty great because especially if you're silver flooding, you don't really need gold in a silver flood deck very much. And so if you're hitting 5, 6, 7 layer, like you could buy gold, but gold is probably just worse than like one good trader play. So I agree with you. I would probably Stampede quite a bit here on sub province hands.
I also would not rush to play all the horses. There's a chance that you say draw 8 with like one horse still left in hand, and you could just end your turn there and save the horse for like a future turn.
Mm-hmm. Also possible that you can trader a horse if you really want to.
It's also
does give you 3 silvers.
Certainly there's some context where I would consider trading a horse for sure.
So McWaffle,
look at that. McWaffle gets it. All right.
So the interesting thing though is McWaffle had 8 coins and decided to Stampede anyway. I'm not sure I agree with
money?
that. Yeah. He didn't play he didn't play his other treasure cards, but he definitely had 8 coins, I'm pretty sure.
Look.
Unless I miscounted.
Plus 2. Right. 9 in fact.
Yeah. So
the merchant ship.
This is late enough in the game. I think I'm ready to just province whenever province is like doable.
I would play at least one more horse here to try to hit
to 8.
At the very least, even if you don't hit 8, you have an estate coming up on top, and I'd rather get rid of that. No, I still don't have 8. I think I would play the last horse and favor the 8.
I think it's fine. Trade an estate and trading the quarry and maybe buying. No, you can't afford. You can't get the stampede there. Yeah, I don't know about that. Trading quarry is fine over estate.
Those quarries are not doing anything.
Oh, they really aren't. I think the only mistake there was not playing the other horse, mostly.
Yeah, I would have liked to play one and try to hit province.
Yeah, at this point in the game where I just want to hit province as much as possible.
It's a good hand for McWaffle, though. They'll probably hit province and have a merchant ship in play for next turn.
Oh, that's great. That's a great hand. I would wish for estate. Yeah, sure. That's a.
I like wishing for estate. Already got 8 in hand. You're wishing for a card that you don't want to have on the top of your deck to get it out of the way. Mm-hmm. You don't want to, like, if there's a silver there, you don't want to draw the silver because you'd like to have the silver in hand next turn.
Mm-hmm. And here's another province for McWaffle here, so that's pretty nice.
I would just not play the trader.
No, just take a province.
You even turn the province into a silver.
I mean, there is some thought to trading like a silver and taking a stampede, but I don't like it. I just want to...
That would be interesting. Stampede for 5 silvers. I mean, definitely buy province here, but that is an interesting idea.
Kangawu does, in fact, pair Throne Room and Merchant Ship, which is quite good. That's actually very, very good.
Yay. Yeah, that is quite lucky. Undeservedly lucky. That Throne Room should not be in that deck.
It is, I think so. So here's Kangawu. Like, I would not play this Wishing Well because you don't want to
Yeah,
trigger the shuffle.
absolutely.
Because if you trigger this shuffle, like your throne room, your merchant ship, your trader, your Wishing Well, this gold, silver, and copper all end up in the discard and they're not in your next shuffle. And you don't need any more.
Trader the king. Not trader the kangaroo. Trader the wishing well.
For you can also trade her to silver instead of the Wishing Well. I'm not sure which one's better. Yeah, see, he does play. So that's I think a huge mistake is to play the Wishing Well there, because all this stuff is now gone from this shuffle.
I also would have. They could have traded the gold there. After playing the Wishing Well, they had enough money that they could have hit province.
And trade gold
without the gold.
Oh yeah, I would have traded gold.
Into 6 silvers.
So here you just play merchant ship and then buy an island as McWaffle, I think.
I agree with that. It's an awkward spot though because they'll still be behind in points.
Because they don't have anything better to do.
A whole lot better they can do.
Yeah, like that's the best you can hope for is take the island. Kangawu's hand is not very good, but you know that's a little bit self-deserved.
Should not have triggered that shuffle. So the fact they have multiple throne rooms in that deck is just unreasonable.
So here's a question. So now this is a weird part of the game, right? Because you can decide on whether or not, as McWaffle, to take the province or duchy. Because taking a province invites a loss if Kangawu can also match a province. But taking a duchy...
Definitely province, I think. Because if you buy duchy, you're still lost. And Kangawu can buy province because points are tied 26 to 26. You can't afford to buy the last province as McWaffle, even if you did get a duchy.
You're correct. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, man, this is a big wish right here. Wish for copper, I guess. That's so... so close.
Might have had more silvers. I think silver might have been the...
you know what? I think if you're tracking your deck, you might know what's most likely down there. And you would know silver is most likely and wished for silver and won. Yeah.
A lot of it hinges on that wish.
That's a big wish. Big wish. Yeah, I think wishing for silver was 100% the correct play, given that most of the treasure down there was silver.
Well, that's the series. So that was 3-3 in the end, right?
Looks like 3-3. Yeah.
Even series.
All right.
Well, I'll hop off now.
Yep, sounds good. All right. Thank you for commentating. And I will maybe commentate other games at some point. Who knows? Till next time.